tsogolo inu.
Tikulandireni madzulo ano mpulogalamu inanso sabata ino ya Times Exclusive. Ndine Brian Banda kukulandirani kulikonse kumene muli in Malawi and around the world. Amatipatsira mapulogalamuwa ndi Rainbow Pens.
Wow. I think K-Pitch looks amazing on the door.
The electric blue.
Sit down with him.
Okay.
Then we say Banga fundraise gonna win.
Oh, mazabura.
Kupangisa ma table on planta yamono and moved them mpaka kuti kudetsa.
Okay.
Then we say if we can do this thing locally, why can't we take it nationally? Ndi kuyamba sono pika maganizo bwanji.
Okay.
Ndi kumene muje munali abusa mabankwe. Chiwambo.
Okay. Ya Chiwambo ndi amene naona kwambiri ndi mapatriots.
Yeah. Chiwambo ndi kupeza amdebwe kulilongo kuyamba sono kuti what can we do?
Yeah.
Ndi awucheni akulemeka mmene muja kuti tipanga bwanji. It took us time to really bake the ideas, brainstorm and bake the ideas, and finally we had an incubation. Daddy, here are the things we can do. Healthcare, agriculture, education, entrepreneurship, manufacturing, technology, and AI, and artificial intelligence. Kumana sono tapanga identify zintuzi ndi tiambira bati. Ndi mupange find out what are the most needs the country needs. How in Zibadara? Why in Zibadara? No. If you go in the hospitals, things are not okay. We ask the Chiwambo, where someone trying to our previous Secretary of Health, Agangombe.
Okay.
But sit down with him. Tipanga understand the landscape and the landscape in the mind and health, and he was able to guide us. And at the time, PS Secretary of Health and Dr. Mwansambo.
Okay.
Sat down with Dr. Mwansambo, Kambira, that would help. So we didn't know what did.
Okay.
Then Kenako Tapanga need to plan it, put it in place. I said to Kwachiwambo, the vote of Nogo America, Ndira kuti ne ndipite mabungwe. Ndikanene kuti Malawi kufuna chakuti zimavuta.
Okay.
Chifukwa chimene zimavutira chakuti anthu onama achuluka.
Okay.
Apita mabungwe muchapa sida zinthu zizolola muti mtumba. Then we have to find the government as a bridge.
Okay.
Then through that thought process, tinaona tipange embassy.
Okay.
Then kupanga according to Malawi embassy. Mama yanguangula ndi ambassador Chombo.
Okay.
Esme Chombo. Kwa futu kuzira ambassador, excited. I'm in. I want to be part of that. There's someone we said, here's the layout. Tikamapita kwa kuguda maofisi, makampani, kuti tufuna chitangizo. Then we'll bring you in to close the deal.
Yeah.
And the idea ndiya kuti asatitenge finga di mena akuchitira anthu amaiko ene kumaka nama, kumatenga drama zicha kumani. Then we had a plan of action for we know that integrity is everything.
Yeah.
The moral ability could carry trusted is everything. We started and I said myself Mkulu kuchali chichanga ku Amherst ku Chicago. Then now was our charity. For charity begins at home.
Yeah.
Now was our church ndi vote kumudzi Zibadara.
Okay.
Munditalize upanga fundraise. Their church and what do you need? They did upanga find out and that project cure. Amakwira kudziko mukapemba amakapanga needs assessment.
Yeah.
Ndiye anazabwera kusapanga needs assessment. We had to put together $4,000.
Okay.
Ma diaspora ndiye azathu Malawi.
Yeah.
Tinasonkhanitsa ndalama kwa basa. Then they send munthu kubwera kuno. Anapanga pa Queens kumalamulo wapanga ukapanga needs assessment about 10 hospitals. Atazabwera kuti tarandira report zofunika zimene zofunika mu Malawi. Ndiso bano pakufunika kuti container choti tipange process zinthu zonsezi tike mu container ndikupanga ship zimafika between 30-36,000.
Okay.
Dollars.
Yeah.
Komano container ichi Katundu amene amuyika mmene muchi nthawi zambiri is 550 to 650,000
Okay.
US dollars.
Okay.
Chabwino. Komano tikuthandizaniso kuti tipeze ma funders. Chabwino.
Akiwa amene.
Project Cure chifaiso ndi list ya anthu
Yeah.
nako amapasa zinthu.
Okay.
Tumizani zinthu kuti
Okay.
and ndinkonde ya Ukraine they have been sending a lot of things South
Okay.
America, Asia.
Okay.
And nkozapeza kuti takumana ndi anthu kumene kucha amene they really understood our challenges.
Okay.
Koma in the meantime kuchali chikucha tapanga kale gala fundraise.
Okay.
And Madam Ambassador came, Dr. Tanya Nkungula who has a practice kuchen ku DC came.
Okay.
Dr. Kamana Mbekene amene sali kuchen ku Chicago they came.
Okay.
We fundraised kupezeka ndalama zijatatani tapeza container.
Okay.
Wauza Project Cure and the way we did it ndalama zijamukapanga collect zipite ku Project Cure.
Okay.
Anapanga account.
Okay.
So atapanga account container chakatumiza they will show you an invoice kuti ndalama zijamnaika papa container ndi tapanga tachosa ndalama ziyasomanga zero account
Zoika mu container mu muzipeza. Muzipeza kuti.
so pano anthu ngati kuchali chiko anthu anangopanga ma donations.
Okay.
Madole mpaka kwana 36,000.
Oh, I see.
A project kuti ndalama ziyasakwanira kuti container ipite kuti.
Okay.
Ndiye achaichaje nda Chicago Synod.
Okay.
Ndi tinanena kuti kuli nzuzu imene ili pafupi ndi Synod.
Yeah.
Fapana zapezeka azungu ena ku Chicago kucha anali pa Synod ya Livingstone ya panzuzu.
Okay.
Ndiye dada ikakafika container ichi.
Yeah.
Akakhala azungu acha pali pamene pacho akaoneka tu akafika ndiye ukauzana kuti Katundu janatani anafika.
Yeah.
Kupezeka kuti tatumiza Katundu mzuzu kucha alandira anzawa chankwawo zoti Katundu jotani wafika. Nditi tayamba pamene poyambira tayamba choncho kupeza kuti anzathu acha tendi tikaise US United States Parcel which is UPS Foundation.
Yeah.
Ma companies ambiri kwa make amakhala what they call corporate citizenry.
Yeah.
Kuti tithandiza bwanji ma environment ma communities
Yeah.
anthu ngati company.
Yeah.
Consciousness kuti tithandize anthu. Then we went there kukankhana nawo kwabwiresa Madam Ambassador kuyankhana nawo atatipanga 5 containers.
Oh.
Basi mungoti pasa uchini kuti tipanga wow to go about mutenge ndalama zimene mapasa Project Cure mkuika account achakupanga transfer ndalama zija kuti pa account ija Project Cure mkwamba kumatumiza ma container ema container atoyamba anapita ku Central Hospital ya Kuzomba.
Okay. Tinaona ndonkani watu anapita nso Kuzomba.
First container village.
Okay.
Container yachiri kupita ku Bwaira. Container yachitatu kupita ku Likuni. Mkuzapita ku Nsanje.
Okay.
Maona?
Yeah.
Mkupeza kuti ma container chambo sabana kuti kuyamba kubwera slowly.
Yeah.
Nditiri nkati mmene muchi mkuzayankhula ndakula ku Project Cure kukhala nawo pasuti what do we do next ata police chani pali bungwe lina limene titakukamba nawo then we went there kukamba nawo Islamic Relief USA. What is interesting so pano Islamic Relief USA ndi bungwe la Chisilamu.
Yeah.
Komano kunoko structure yathu ndiye kuti zipatala za boma zipatala za chama zipatala za Islamic Health Association zimene zilandire zinthu. Komano yowaja anachita kunena kuti Katundu yakamapita akupita kwa anthu. We don't care kuti ndachali chanji kachipembedzo chanji, we just want to help the people. Ndiye anatuza yowaja kuti atikupasani ma container 27 containers. Ndiye tinasatumizaso munthu kubwera kachiwiri kusapanga chani assessment.
Okay.
Kukafika kuzuzuko, kukafika mental health, kukafika konse ku malo osiyana kupanga ndithu ma needs assessment. The idea is what do you need? For example, my aid ajamabwira force feed.
That's right.
Kuponyera dumping. We said no, you go and meet my providers I help. My doctor akakuuze chimene chikufunika. And they make a list kubwera. Ndalama zi and kuti mupite kuti muone kuti ndalama zikabwera zikuyenda bwanji. You just go to Project Cure website, projectcure.org. And mupange punch Malawi. Muyiona report yonse. Transparency. Muyiona report yonse kuti container chakapanga yonse process akukunze kuti container yapita kunchinji ndalama zake zizapita. Container yapita kuchitipa ndalama zakezi container yapita ukaronga malo mabomu osewo malo tikunena ma container afika kale.
Okay.
So unoba kuti chofunyira so kwambiri kuti tuone measurement.
Yeah.
Kuti ndaija tisana bwere muli ndi vuto.
Yeah.
Munali apa panopo mwana ndira zipangizo muli apa
mumakhala chani container
suno container mu zinthu zimene zikukhala mmene mucha sauti ngati ino yetu lizendo la dokotala munino munthu ine ntchito ndikuidziwa koma ndibe thermometer ndibe stethoscope ndibe x-ray machine ndibe ICU bed zinthu zimene mukuzifuna ma supplies ma gloves
so asanatumize pakumakhala okambirana
kama bwera munthu nditakubwera ngati pa Queens nkubweresa sono ma department osaba Queens nkukumana mu conference kuti tatuzani vuto lanu nene pamene pacha pange list mkuyenda so mawodi kaya mana moto mmene tikunena panabwera so container specialized beds ma ICU beds 44 beds tinaita kugawa pa Queens akhalepo kuzomba kunzuzu kulilongo following up ndi manidza amene akufunika ndi pano tikunena pano tapangaso secure 50 containers
pamwamba pa amene mwa 27
ndi 27 anatipasa poyambayo tinaliso kale titapanga fundraise 5 ndiso pano tikubwera so 50 the target kuti tifike 100 so pano leye imene kubwera yachiwiri nakasiyo yamba chisono tapanga mabedi tapanga mwina ma x-ray machine zina layer imene kuzabwera yachiwiri somoneka very specialized kuti can we say madokotala awa kuti mungapite kunsanje kukapanga operation imene mukupanga pa Queens and anene kuti yes or no why not that's the question why can't you do this ndengati kuti expansion mwina ya theaters ndizimene locally we can ask kuti kunongo kumudzi mukunena kuti mukufuna operations zipangika koma kachipinda kakachepa can't we do brick and mortar tigule cement titukuze izi can't we do that that's why the demand the core and the appeal is to mind people that this is our moment, this is our country.
Boma la Malawi lailandira bwanji nkhani
ndi pamene tikufuna kuti boma sobano yapanga ntchito yaikulu kupanga bridge through the embassy yapanga bridge ndi Minister of Health ndi Minister of Local Government ndi Minister of Finance from container jakabwera kupanga wave mavat so uno ubali umene ukuoneka koma chimene tikufuna kwambiri chakuti they have to elevate it apange elevate chifukwa dzulo ngati mene tinapita kucholo pakanakhala kusangalatsa kwambiri kuti ka Minister of Local Government analipompa
mupereka kuchena
kuchikwawa Minister of Health analipompa chifukwa chakuti we can't do this alone tifuna tizipasana nzeru you want just to know you know what anapempa chakuti koma no I think tipange moment chifoma ask ena maka special and then we have to time it well kuma infrastructure the Minister of Health and Local Government alinayo kale what we need to know kuti how can we dovetail these things kuti tipange help to and we can't do this in the dark. That's why I'm saying the ADM ilepeleka kuti thandiza kuno chifukwa it's not tailor-made for us. Maona?
Say that again.
The aid has failed in Malawi and many parts of Africa because it's not tailor-made to our needs. The needs of the people have to drive the nature of the aid. If I give you school bus, business, transportation, I've completely missed that resource. You can't fill the bus.
You can't fill the bus.
If I had asked you, said, I'm you see? Then can 10 centers or 20 centers. I've missed the target.
You can't fill the bus,
That's the need. So we have to understand where do we start. They're sending us into Kamaiko. They're sending us into without coming with that full even my structure, I'm a building, they're not designed for us. They're not designed for us. If you go kunja kujuda in the theater, the way they're designing it, the theater by designing my doctor, they have more than 10-15 people upon operating in 2-3 days. You can't see that in America. No. So which means the way we build theaters at the waiting rooms or recovery rooms, it should be completely different. Chifukwa doctor image upanga operation ngamesa kufunira kucha recovery. Zonse zikhali pompaje. Manesa azitamanga pompaje. Useti kunongo recovery operation we can't manage.
10 kilometers.
Maona.
Ndiko America kuzima khala manje.
ku America because azathu achindama resources muno kunokudo kuti amene opanga operation ndwina our recovery ndwina maona
yeah,
and the way they're sending my information yaka my x-ray my information amene akupasa they're there information ilipo in mopanga operation which akuza ni recovery which you just see on your document kama electronic tablet
yes,
kufuna chako utamanga kapina kwako so nipake chako we can't do that here. The way we have my needs are to define how the aid comes in. And the way we also want to define it's a specialized aid. Can we learn something from it? One of the persons I met up with the manufacturer my surgical equipment.
okay,
He says minerals in the rutin, tungsten and all that. Kumano, why can't you make my equipment I'm afunika for surgery? And you have coke, which means you can smell these things. All I have to bring you the mamods.
okay,
You see that?
because umapanga konko
Kunkuno. Kumano, some of these things that ma use reconstructing my faces and one of those little things, $8,000. And I would never, you can make this thing here. And even I can sell it to the rest of Africa. You have everything. Why are you sending my cause outside the country? We have to think as the people that own things in this country. And because we think that way, we're not waiting for somebody to tell us where to go and how to get there. We have to think about it. Like I've said, the China is for the Chinese, or China is what it is because everybody's Chinese.
Everybody's Chinese.
We have to think now, there's no Tumbuka, there's no Ngoni, there's no Yao, there's Malawi. That's the only way we can change this country. Because everybody comes in Onkodawot. Ndipeseke mpando, ndiye ndipange misewu Onkodawot. Panopa ndikuza Brian, it's 22 containers. There's no container Onkodawot.
Sinafika Onkodawot.
By design.
What?
Chifukwa container ipite kumene kuli need.
Okay.
And the first the first place is kuafusa chipatala kuti kumene kufunika chitani. Tertiary hospitals, Queen Elizabeth, Kamu Central Hospital, Mzuzu. What do these hospitals from us complicated where would kumene kuchi? Ndeti yambe kupanga address that area. Tikamaliza mwe pachisono chiyangana kuti district level ndikuti kumene chipatala chiti pamochi. Likoma is away from everything. That's where the container should go. Next level. Chitipa, ndikutali. Nsanje ndikutali. That's where we should start. So we are thinking with the data should drive decisions. Also because I'm from Kotakota. Data should drive decisions. And it got we should find our approach to Mavuto at Zikori. They are centered on the need. Also the 14 in Cheo, Kabilan Tombo, Kabilan Tom. These isms cannot change this nation. And Kamus tried so much to bury that kind of thinking. China is what it is today because everybody's Chinese. Malay can change because everybody's Malayan. Kuma this idea, because I'm from the south and from the north, we can't get anywhere. And we can't hold people accountable. Because now you'll be saying, oh, Dinchewa, I can't take him down. Yes. Yes, that one. Kuchoro. Kuchoro. I had no idea, and I get emotional. I get emotional. I had no idea that our people in Choro, they are very much subjected to food insecurity. Do you know why? Ndagayon sanala ndo mabanga tea. So we want to ask, what do you think about people of Cholo? I'm from Kotakota. But what I saw with Cholo, I teared up. I cried. This is unacceptable. Malo and Halipecha. And each Pataja Cholo is struggling. Kuma Malo Saja Mulima Tea. And Pamina Mulima Muti, Chipatina Vita di Pacholo. Why can these people developing that land work with the district hospital of Pacholo? Which should be the hospital that can treat the people? I over in this battle. We're working with the road. And in this battle. Okay. Why can the same thing happen to Cholo? Why can that happen to Cholo? But also, how much more land can you take from people? Why can't you say to Cholo to say 1/3 of this? It should go back to people so we can have maize. We can't run a nation on hungry people. We can't. I'm saying this from the conviction of my heart that this has to stop. And many of these contracts, they were done when Malawi was 6 million people, 3 million, 4 million people. Things have changed.
Yeah, things have changed.
These contracts have to change. On an international global standard, they have to be nullified because we need to change. They cannot be perpetual contracts. No, they can't. So new administration, new thinking, new reasoning, we have to change that. You don't need that kind of amount of land to grow crops these days. You don't need that. People are having farms in a confined place because of technology.
Yeah, because of technology.
Why are you having so much land?
Yeah.
So we need to say it's our country, it's our thinking, and we have to change it. But to do that, it's not about government.
Okay.
We, the people, have to demand that. But we also, you see, I always use the word intellectual wealth or intellectual poverty. We are all intelligent. But what differentiates that is the wealth and the poverty. Intellectual poverty is when somebody fails to connect the dots.
Okay.
They have the intelligence, but what they're lacking is to connect the dots. I'm going to Choro to give over the container to the chief, to the DC, to the people in Choro, to the patriots in Choro. But while I'm there, I'm thinking about the starvation of the people. Because hungry people be coming to the hospital all the time.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
If Nkadabe has a problem in Korea, one of the main reasons, because I live in clean water. So for you to combat Korea, start with Madra.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And it's cheaper
Yeah.
to start with Madra than to actually treat Korea. You get what I'm saying?
I'm understanding you.
Intellectual poverty and intellectual wealth, those with intellectual wealth, they're able to connect the dots. 11 ambulances at Choro District Hospital. If I were there, I would harvest the other 5 to have the other 5 on the road.
What's happening if the 11 ambulances?
They're all on racks. And you ask them, they say all the engines are working, but they have no tires, no rims.
Patrol bomb.
And they have one ambulance which is working. Are you telling me you can't harvest parts from 5 of these 11 to have 6 on the road? That's intellectual poverty.
Intellectual poverty.
And you go in many of these hospitals, you find behind it, they have broken chairs or broken seats. This is metal. Metal, you can weld it.
You can weld
We can weld metal. You can reform the parts and all that.
Yeah.
All we need is, if I were to go to Chora again and say, here's 10 million kwacha, all that stuff you have behind the hospital, next time I'm coming here, is fixed. It will be fixed by tomorrow. Why are we failing that? Because we're so busy chasing vanity in this country.
We are so busy chasing
vanity.
Yeah.
And nobody's taking a pause to say, no, this can't be life. You have to come up to a point as a person and look in the mirror and say, now what? You have the roof over your head. You have a meal. You have vehicles outside. What else do you need?
Yeah, what else do you need?
What else do you need? And then when you come to that point, you realize leaders are born. You can't make them. You cannot make a leader. They can learn, they can adjust, but when a leader is born, has a conviction to the people. They speak with conviction. You can see from their work.
Yeah.
I'm not a millionaire, but I'll tell you, I'll spend my last penny to make sure that a human being has a chance. I'm educating in this country about 5, 6, 7 graduates. I've never seen them, I've never met them. But because I've heard from people they need help. And I'm there to give them money for school, to give them computers for school, and send people to say, check out on this kid. Is he alive? Is he a true person? Yes, he's a true person. That's the conviction, because that's the people of tomorrow. That's our future.
Yeah.
And if we don't look back to the future, no matter how much wealth you have, 5 years, 30 years, 20 years, many of them Katundu Sanata. And I don't have to mention them, but you know them. Hey, I'm going to use the word I'm at bankruptcy. Because they never taught the children how to run a business. But many of my Indians, my business, they still continue. Because they've taught them. They know the future. We cannot spend our time chasing money. We got to chase knowledge.
Yeah.
We have to chase knowledge, how we transfer that to our young people to take this country forward. So I come back home to talk about how we as a people can rise up.
Yeah.
And demand that amongst ourselves, we can't live like that. We can't do things like that. And I get emotional because I fundamentally believe Malawi is not poor. This nation is not poor, far from it. We have intellectual poverty in this country. And it has to change. Drop that poverty, put wealth. And a nation that have intellectual wealth, people are always thinking about what's next for the good of the people. That's how you change.
So our problem is intellectual poverty. How do we deal with that?
Is the realization that $100 in my pocket is nothing than $1 across the nation. That's how you move the economy of the country.
Say that again. It's a very powerful thought.
$100 in my pocket is nothing compared to $100 in $1 across the nation.
Okay.
That's how you can move the economy, because then everybody is on the move. A multiplier effect. From $1 you can make $3. But if I just keep this money in my pocket, if you make a mark on this money and you put it out there, it will change 2 hands.
Yeah.
But 100 notes will change 1,000 hands. That's how the economy moves. So if I have $80 million in Malawi, as a Malawian, that's sorry. That's sad. Because if 80 million that I have, each Malawian had 1 million, this nation will be somewhere. The thinking, the ability to incubate ideas will be somewhere. But as we take this money from the economy and put it in our pockets, in our banks, we are also siphoning the ability to think.
Yeah.
We're siphoning the ability to think. Because when people think something, have a construction of that, you dream, you act on it, you execute.
Yeah.
All this process needs financial ability to do it. But if people know that if I can think it, I can have it, then I will have the ability to do it. That's where we're killing this country.
We'll take a short break. We'll be back with you,
Thank you so
in a
much.
moment. In case you're just joining us, ndili Dr. Mbewe kuchokera ku Chicago, ku United States of America. Malawi wapa nkhotakota. Koma akhalitsa kumeneko akugwira ntchito ndi patriots amene akutibweretsera katundu osiyanasiyana mdziko muno waulere.
Group, which is here for the people.
Yeah.
Ndiye kupezeka so ma university mutapeza nditu ma doctor kuti they're ready to work with us.
Okay.
Because they can help us kuti understand medical area landscape. Within that thinking iso tinaona kuti tikamapita maboma, there's a very established structure ya mafumu. Chifanga tikontiene ibwera pacholo kuli ma TA kale.
Yeah, that's right.
Ngati Katundu tikunena kuti akuchoka kwa anthu ku America, anthu. And Islamic Relief USA, anthu akumatenga msembe, kumapereka sembe. Iwo achakutenga ndalama zija kutipengera zinthu parking zinyamuke kuja zibwere ku Malawi. Katundu just waboma ya.
Okay.
And the problem sometimes we have, tikanena kuti Katundu ndo waboma, imakanga ti conscious yathu jema pita kokagona.
Okay.
Kuti tibe Katundu uja. It's open season. That must change. Government tibe Katundu ya. Katundu ndo anthu.
That's right. Yeah.
It's our tax money.
Yeah.
Kwaba saboma kwa Katundu. Boma lilibe ndalama ya. And the fact that anthu mboma muja kumaganiza kuti Katundu ya ndo waboma, they don't understand the economics of how that works. You are there as a custodian wa Katundu anthu.
Yeah.
Anthu ndamene akula Katundu uja. Ndiye Katundu uyu pamene akusiyanirana ndipo kuti sopano anthu atipasa ndalama kunyamula Katundu ku America. Kudusa mu bridge ya boma.
Okay.
Yeah. Bridge ya boma.
Yeah.
Mukafika kuti kwa anthu. Ndiye tikafika kucholo kuja tinapeza a TA apa boma. A TA chakwapeza ngwazo kuti Katundu wanu amfumu tabweretsa. A DC ngati branch ya boma alipati alipamene. Amfumu waje ndi judiciary manager. If we had to design this country the way the Americans have done, you cannot cut the 3 branches of government because it's already here.
Okay.
Tili ndi executive, the president.
Yeah.
Tili ndi Congress.
Yeah.
Legislative. Tili ndi mafumu, judicial. We can do that. These 3 arms of government, you should check each other. Mukanaona kuti corrosive nature ya kuba ikanata. And we have to get there.
Yeah.
Kumano containers zimene zikubwera zikafika kumene kucha sopano chapter iliko kale mwina ya Lions Club, chapter iliko kale mwina ya Rotary Club, akudziwa mayendesedwe a zinthu. Ndiye patriots amene tapeza so pamene, and patriots is made by anthu amene kuti what can I do for my country? Like Kennedy said, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. This is Kennedy talking about America at the time where the economy was going in the wrong direction. Everybody had lost hope. It needed a leader to activate that human spirit to say we can do it. And those words changed America. The America you see today was not the America during Kennedy. Why can't we do that? So when itafika kumene kuja kwapeza mfumu, mkwauza mfumu Katundu. Kumano mubwere list imene ya Katundu ali mu container, list ndi.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
List inayo alinayo panopa kope apachipatala.
Okay.
Ndi Katundu chakatsika. Mubwere kaya mawa kaya mkucha mwafusi. Akuoneseni kuti ujeni gym equipment ija ya recovery ya therapy treadmill ili hapa. Mpando wa kuja dentistry uli hapa. Ma x-ray yetu manina ali hapa. Mabedi aja ali hapa. Ndiye afumu aja nao uche kuti wodi yakuti kuti chakuti yakuti. Wodi yakuti kuti chakuti. Wodi yakuti, and you should be coming here every month. Kuti kodi zinthu ziya zikugwira ntchito. Zinthu zilipo. Ngati chinthu chiya chathyoka mfumu nambala yanga iyi. Ndi kuyikane ma biomedics amene ali pachipatala pano. I'll connect them with biomedics ku America. Apa ngama video calls kunayoda utsegule pakuti upange chakuti utitengere motherboard yo namba yake ndi chani.
Okay.
Titumiza ndi FedEx or DHL.
Okay.
Zinthu zimene tikufuna kuti zisatizika ngono ndiyeka zikhale pamono. We are not doing that.
Okay.
So this is sustainability.
Chifati mataya zili.
Eya. So pano mfumu aja mphamvu imene tapatsa ndiyauti anyamata patriots muli nawo, Rotary Club muli nayo, Lions Club muli nayo, you have the resources to work with. And here's the structure of your oversight. Mukamabwera kuno muona kuti zinthu zikuyenda kuti chakuti chili kwati. Ma supplies akuyenda bwanji. Komanso mwafusa sopano achipatala. How do you take you from stage A to stage D? Chifukwa tamva kuti ma hospital kunali ma levels star 1, star 2, star 3. Kunjewu tisanabwerese container nali star 2 or star 1, pano ali star 3.
Okay.
This one now we have learned, there's a process here in the medical council plan. Tifuna sono apite kunsanji, apite kuchitipa, apite kukaronga. To say if Nchewa has done it, why can't you do it in Karonga? Or if there's a reason why you're failing, we need to know what it is. So we can come in and help. Kuti timpange move my standards.
Ena mavuto amene mwaona.
Aya.
Ndi chani?
Mavuto amene taona, I think a classic example ndi zimene taona kuzomba.
Kuzomba?
Kuzomba, there was an issue ya Kuba.
Okay.
So, but the good thing there would be process yanchi paramuchi. Ndimene napanga capture Kuba kuchi. So what we want to do is, we don't know.
Okay.
Kumano, some of the things amene napanga listed right. Because when somebody is saying there's a transformer, step down transformer, that tells you something.
Yeah.
But if a step down transformer, then the machine that was using that transformer is from 110.
Okay.
And 110 was kwa America.
Okay.
Yeah. 240 is here.
Yeah,
210 is what? Koma mundu akangukuza ni 110 Brian.
Ndi America.
So if you look at the list, it's including as I saw, koma pakuoneka 110, it should now say, okay, something here, we have to find out what's going on. Kumano, one of the beautiful things, I think system imene as a Guido did this still going on. It was an internal system. They definitely want to go to Zomba Central Hospital. How have they designed that to catch that?
Okay.
You see, we're also learning in this process because a growing person has to learn. You can't know it all.
Yeah.
You have to learn.
Yeah.
And through learning, you're growing now. So the positive Zomba, that can also be replicated across.
Yeah. Even
if we have oversight. Kumano, when people have this corrosive character, ambatopanga corrosions. More than 2-3 people with our visitors. We have to have a way to see what it is. That's why we know that mfuma jagadziwa anthu akadziwa mmodzi. Musi uchamani kuti wakuti tucha kuti akugulisa chakuti.
Tingotengera poso mwayi. Poti ndaku America ife tili kuno. Mukaniza kuti tikumakhala mu mphawi wa dzaoneni. Tikulankhula pano boma laononga ndalama zambiri kukula chimanga ku Zambia kudyetsa wanthu. If you may operate on us as a people,
lack of analysis.
Lack of analysis.
We're failing to analyze things because we're blinded by politics. Isms.
Okay.
You see?
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying if this nation is to move forward, we have to take out these isms. They're killing us. And I've given you an example from Nkhotakota,
Yeah.
but I'm not sending a container which it has to be driven by data. Ngati pa Queens
Yeah.
is the final stage of a human life. Kumene specialist ali, and they need something, X-ray, whatever, up, because they'll be coming from Sanji, they'll be coming from Chitipa, they'll be coming from everywhere to get the help here. That's where I should start. When you approach things with data, when you approach things with this critical thinking, that means you're throwing away all these isms. What party you belong, what tribe you belong, what region. That's what's killing this nation. We cannot develop as a people. China is all Chinese. That's why they are where they are. This country can only change if our thinking is fundamentally based on doing good to humanity, another human being. So this country, we could have analyzed Alindi Chimanga did that. Who has Chimanga in the whole country? Because that also in itself, you're addressing Forex issues.
Yeah.
Forex issues. Not only are you buying Chimanga, but you're also addressing Forex issues. But you're also giving your own Malayans money for the next crop, for the next growing, because they need that for farm inputs. So only if you're sick in mind, you are sick in mind, you can do that. Chimanga just in country munatagula, they will still need surplus. We still need surplus. Then you go outside your borders. But don't tell me you don't have Forex and you're buying it into Wunja. That means you're not thinking. Intellectual poverty. Why? Why? Why are people hiding the maize? Is it the price? Why are they hiding the maize? If maize is a fundamental thing to this country, you have the right to put a cap on maize.
Okay.
But before you do that, and understand, how does it cost somebody?
Yeah.
How does it cost somebody to produce a bag of maize before you put a cap on it? And you find or the price of maize is high, you find with my farmer inputs, they're more than the selling of the maize.
Yeah, that's right.
If I can't break even as a farmer, what do you expect me to sell something? What kind of business is that? Intellectual poverty. If you have intellectual wealth, your decisions have to be directed by data.
Yeah.
By data. You can't come in a government or in a company as a CEO without looking at the balance sheet. Understand? You look at the balance sheet, you say, who do I owe what and why? You come in a country and you want to understand the balance of trade. Give me a report of balance of trade for the past 10 years, 5 years.
Yeah, that's right.
Where is the issue? Outside. And why can't we have those things? Zona might is Zambia.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense.
And I may be talking at somebody, I'm talking about this because one thing I know about myself is the conviction about this country. All the people I work with, I do things with, they know this money comes from Malawi. Because all I can talk about is this country.
Okay.
And when I hear about all these discoveries of minerals and stuff, I'm excited, but at the same time, I'm scared.
Why are you scared?
Because of intellectual poverty.
Okay.
There's no reason for Malayans to cause from our ground and export them. It's the time Malaya has to say it has to be made here.
Yeah.
In the 70s, you go to Saudi Arabia, they had nothing. They were receiving help from African countries, Sudan, Libya, Morocco. Saudi Arabia was receiving help in the 70s. But what they did do was they understood their wealth underground. They sent their children abroad to learn purification, petroleum engineering. And when they came back, there were companies there sending the cores to, petroleum, the core of the petroleum before purification outside the country. When those kids came back, they said, we're stopping that. They started making everything, and final product leaves the country. Where is Saudi Arabia now? We are sitting right here, God-given minerals and wealth, and yet we're exporting these things abroad. You have so many educated. The beauty about poor countries, or countries which are economically challenged, Brian, God blesses those people with the export of these brands.
Okay.
You get it? A country that has no resources for whatever reason to meet the needs of its young people, that country is blessed with the brains of those people wherever they've gone. If you bring them home, you will change the country because the thinking starts to change. I was in Ethiopian Airways, and when you analyze Ethiopian Airways, why it has grown so much, just riding that plane, I realized 65% of the passengers were Ethiopians. You see that? 65% of an airline riders are Ethiopians. You cannot beat that airline because your own people, between DC, between Chicago, between Ethiopia, are riding your plane, which means your break even is taken care of.
That's right.
It's taken care of. So 46% of the Ethiopian economy is run by a diaspora. And when I met the president in 2022 at the United Nations General Assembly, this country was going through Forex challenge. I have done within the space of Forex challenge what we call institution of a banking system. Malawi can open a bank in the United States of America. Every Malawian in America, at least the largest part of Malawians in America, will start banking with this bank. You know why? Because we can come home knowing we already have an account.
That's right.
So right, I'm here. By the time I leave here, I may spend 20 million kwacha. I'll just go to the bank and take that 20 million kwacha. And you know where the dollars are? Back in America. So when the government of Malawi needs to transact international transactions using US dollars, they already have a bank in America.
That's right.
They already have 3 million people in America that are banking. Now, for many of us, we've sent drama timange manyumba. Palibe manyumba. Palibe manyumba. Tatumiza drama. Why? Because of a corrosive culture.
That's right. That's right.
So imagine behind that bank in the US, there's Malawi housing. Which means now I can take a loan from that bank.
Yeah, that's right.
And that bank is going to get Malawi housing to build me a house from what. And I have a loan, maybe 50,000, 100,000, and I'll be paying there. We're driving vehicles that are costing 130, 140,000. I would rather have that money to build a house from 130,000. Didn't loan your bank for five years. Now I can come home with that. I'll be in a house built by Malawi housing. Labor now is Malawian labor, and you give Malawi housing 5-10% for building that house. But look at this. Where is that money? It's in America, and the government can transact with that same Forex. You can change Forex issue this country has within 1 year. I said that to the president at the time.
President Chakwera. Okay.
Another two, yes. And another issue is dual citizenship. Dual citizenship, according to international law and international taxation, when a citizen is a dual citizen, the government of Malawi now starts to work with Internal Revenue Services in America. If you say all Malawian citizens that are in America, you have to pay 10% tax. We will be submitting tax to Malawi, 10% of the tax that we pay to the US. So if US is collecting only 22%, 10% comes to Malawi. Take 3 million people who are Malawians. Take an average poverty level salary, which is $50,000 a year. Take 10% of that, times 6 million people, or 3 million people. How much is the money Malawi is leaving on the table in the US? 2.5 billion every year. This country is not poor. Intellectual
Why are we not doing that? Why?
Intellectual poverty.
Okay.
It's one thing to be an economist in the office, or a teacher as an economist. It's another thing to practice. One thing to be a lawyer as a professor at a university, another thing to be a practicing lawyer. There are things we know we've learned in the books. There are things now they're not even in the books. Bitcoin marketing, is that in the books of economics?
Yeah, that's right,
Trading on the phones, it's not in the books of economics. Things are evolving, things are changing.
Every day.
So those people practicing these things, they know exactly the solution, because these solutions are modern solutions. Google is obsolete now. Why? Because you're going AI. You just don't want to know about where's Banda. No, but if you go artificial intelligence, you do not only tell you where Banda is, but how Banda came to be being.
That's right,
You see?
That's right.
We have to be able to change with time. Intellectual wealth gives you that ability to connect all the tools you have around you. So our nation is a very educated nation. Our nation is a very rich nation. The challenge we have, we are expecting or waiting other people to address our issues. That has
So
to
it's not a leadership problem.
It's not a leadership problem.
Because sometimes people say kunena kuti amatisokoneza ndi andalewa. Tsogolera twandalewa.
Because if the leaders are surrounded by intellectuals,
Yeah.
that's what leadership is. Leadership doesn't mean you're smart.
Okay. Leadership doesn't mean kuti you're
You
smart.
don't have to be smart to be a leader. That's a fallacy. That's a lie. You don't have to be smart to be a leader. You have to know your weaknesses to be a leader.
Okay.
You get that?
Yeah.
Because when you know your weaknesses as a leader, then you find the right people with that intelligence you're lacking to be on your team. You know, Brian, if you can't fight, you'll have a bouncer.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's leadership.
Okay.
I can't fight.
Yeah.
I'll find the biggest guy in Banda
Yeah.
to be my bodyguard. That's leadership. Those simple things are what leadership is.
Okay.
You find a Mike Muzi, they have a way to say, okay, I think if I move Mwaro, I can build a house. She was not going to lift that stone.
That's right, yeah.
You lift that.
Yeah.
Because she knows her weakness.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's too heavy, don't understand.
Yeah.
Hey, move that over there. That's leadership. You have to know your weaknesses as a leader, and then you identify the talent.
Identify the talent. Yeah.
And you put that house of talent. That's what leadership is about. And also leadership, you have to know, here is the path of politicians or politics. Politics who put you in power. Okay? That's their path to put you in power.
Yeah.
Once this work is done to put you in power, there's now the arm of economics.
Okay.
This arm now is the one that's going to take you into taking the nation into another level.
I see.
You have to make sure that to this path, they know each other,
Okay.
they respect each other.
The
but-
politics path and the economic path.
Yeah, they know each other,
Okay.
they respect each other, but also they know when to interchange.
You can't just have one path.
No, you have to have two paths.
Okay.
But they have to know when to interchange. This is the time of campaign.
Yeah.
Once that's done, you're
Yeah.
now in office.
Yeah.
This slows down.
Okay.
And this takes off. And as a leader, you have to let these two know that your timing now is to slow down.
Okay.
Because these guys have to do the job without fearing you, but working with you. They have to have the independence of doing the work right, without isms, to deliver this nation forward. So look where the head is. I can see left, I can see these two hands.
Yeah.
And when this one is tired, you pass it on to this, and vice versa. You cannot create animosity between these two. These are the paths coming to your brain, and you have to identify those. And as a leader, that's all you need to be able to know. Why do I need this person? Why do I need that person? And at the end, how do Malayans benefit from it? We can't change this nation if our thinking is mirrored in isms. Any nation. That's why we can't beat China, because everybody is Chinese. So I say this with conviction,
Yeah.
and I say this with sorrow and soul in it, because I fundamentally believe this nation in 2025, it should have been somewhere.
Yeah.
So the work we are doing is all about from people to people, and the government is the bridge.
What about, you talked about smiling
Surgeons.
Are you facing challenges with that job as well?
Yes. And the challenge is we've managed to get amazing people.
Yeah.
Dr. Tanya Nkungula is one of us who is practicing in the US. Dr. Longwe is one of us practicing in the US. These are Malawian people that want to come here and do work for our people. Instead of sending people to South Africa, sending them to China, or
India.
sending them to India, a guardian and a patient is somewhere between 40,000, 50,000. The two missions they have done here, they've treated about 66 people.
Yeah.
Each one of that is about 50,000. How much money the country saved? About $4 million US. For that level of work, why can these people come in this country and finding us ready for them? What can we do? Where can we go? When they came here to work with Dr. Mchenga, we saw these swellings of people under the necks that they can't function, they can't do things. They cut, and many of these are benign, they're not cancerous. So they cut them off, they do. As a Malawian, I can go to Queen Elizabeth. I heard about this medical camp. What can I do? There's a brother, there's a sister coming from Chitipa to Banda. They've never been here. Imagine somebody coming to the garden and say, I'll bring you food. Or come and stay with me. And we'll come together to the hospital. That's the work each and every one of us has to do.
Yeah.
And you find those doctors now, they can actually invite people from Saulos Chilima to come here a week earlier, do the assessment, and see the patient is ready for operation. By the time that team comes in, you can do 100 operations.
That's right, yeah.
And then the ICUs are ready. Because now we know we can work together. Malamulo can say, hey, we have a space here. Corporate citizen, giving back to the society. It's like a business place or it's a commercial place, but there are moments in this life that you say, no, I gotta give back to the community. You see? And there could be Mwaiwatu can say, hey, we have 2 more rooms here. Everyone working together to respond to these issues our country is facing.
Yeah.
Until we get there, we will be literally floating on the ocean without an anchor and just blowing on the wind like a pendulum. We're going this way, we're going that way, because we're people without a foundation. We've lost our bearings as a people. Who are we? Doesn't the person from Chireka suffer from hunger? Doesn't the person from Karonga suffer from hunger? So as a leader, as a person, why should I let that happen under my watch?
We hear you, Dr. Mbewe. Unfortunately, we don't have much time.
Kumudzi tibwerera.
Because we need you here.
Yeah. Kumudzi tibwerera, I think ntchito ndi yakulu. Ntchito ndi yakulu. Kumudzi tibwerera kuma the thinking ndi yakuti what can we do while we're there? Kuti slowly and steadily kumudzi kunozi.
Kumudzi wantu sakumaitana kuti uje ndale mdzati imire.
Aye. Before I made it clear. My purpose on this earth is to look at people, Malawian people, and strong belief that they can be better. And I don't think you can do that as a politician.
You can't do that as a politician.
You have to do that as a human being.
Okay.
So if time comes where I may be in a position to be in that space, I don't want to be looked at as a politician. I want to be looked at as a son of this country that want to change this.
What about if President Mutharika is watching us tonight? Ndiye akunena kuti ndakumvani Ambewe tabwera.
At that time, this country will not be a country of tribal demarcations.
Okay. But you're willing to sit with government officials?
Yes.
You're willing to sit?
Yes, because only
and advise?
Only then we can change this country. There's so many contracts that have been signed over 30 years, over 40 years. We have to review those.
Okay.
And change for our people. So, and this is why I'm saying leadership is about identifying your resources.
That's right, yeah.
So we can come together and let's change this country. But before we do that, Malawians have to realize, if I'm a Yao, there's a Chewa in Kasunga, I'm a Yao in Mangochi. What does that mean? We're all suffering from the same challenges: food, health, education. Let's bury that nonsense. Let's take that down. We are Malawians. Only then can we change this nation.
Unfortunately, we don't have much time. Ndikufuna ndikuyamikeni kuti munabwera. We are all inspired. I think this country has potential. We just need to put them in the right place. That's what we have been told, Mazulwana.
Yes.
Let's put talented people in the right place.
Yes.
Mafuna muyangane kamera yathu yo. Mwasi na utenga wangi ya Malawi, Mazulwana.
Utenga kwa Malawi ndo wakuti andufe ndo odala. We're very blessed in the odala. Koma tifike pa mthawi yakuti mitundu imene kuti panga separate. Kuti ine ndo wakuti zimene zitike kumbali. Komanso ndi nthawi yakuti tithandizane ndi boma, tithandizane ndi anzathu kuti dziko linoli tilisinthe lipite patsogolo. Mafunso kumafunsa anzeru kwa akuluakulu amene ali mundali kuti chakuti bwanji chikuyenda bwanji, kuti pamenepo tingathandize bwanji. Ndiye ndikupempha Amalawi kuti tipite patsogolo. Khalidwe lomakhala ndi ma tribes, ma regionalism lithe. Komanso zinthu zimene tapatsidwa tizigwiritse ntchito molondola ndi mmene zikufunika kuti zithandize mtundu wathu. Kuzipatalako mukhale responsible kuti zinthu zindi zathu anabwera kuzatipatsa ndi tifuna tiziyang'anire kuti zisachokenso pa chipatala pano ya. komanso mavuto amene akupezekawo tilankhulane kuti tipeze chithandizo and ife kunjaku tikumva kuti tithamange tithandize mtundu wathu ndechonde Amalawi gwirani ntchito bwino ndi boma gwirani ntchito bwino ndi akuluakulu komanso tifunsane kuti kodi ife tipite patsogolo tifike pa machinese kulibe mtundu ndi mtundu mmodzi ndi ife tifike pa nthawi kuti tikhale mtundu mmodzi kuti dzikoli tilisunthe patsogolo kwambiri.
Dr. Mbewe kuchokera ku Chicago mdziko la America mwatilemekeza kwambiri. Quite interesting hearing you talk. You have energized all of us. Ndikuyamikeni kwambiri chifukwa chakubwera. Pamene panso ndiye pamapeto a program yathu madzulo ano ya Times Exclusive. Ndinandi Dr. Edward Mbewe apakati acha Ubuntu Kalumba Moyo Mbewe. Iwowa adabadwira kunkhota-kota kumudzi mkunkhota-kota. Koma adakhazikika ku America akumabweretsa makontena andalama za nkhani imodzi ndalama mumakhala ndalama
2.8 billion kwacha.
Yeah, container imodzi 20 foot to
40 foot high container. 40 foot high container.
Akupereka mzipatalamu mwaulere.
Eya.
Tieni tisamale
Katundu amene ndipo tili ndi azathu amene akutithandiza ku America kuti tithandize dziko lathu. And zinthu sizikumangobwera tikumabwera kuzafunsa mukufuna chani. Tikupita kuchenkuka pembe. Ndi mabungwe ngati Islamic Relief Yonse, UPS Foundation, machalichi Malawi amene kuyika mabokosi pamodzi kuti tithandize dziko lathu. Koma Katundu akafika kunoko ndi wathu. Chifukwa mfumu ali pompo, mabungwe othandiza ali pompo kuti sopano tione kuti x-rays ni mapanga pankhota-kota kapena pankhata pe pano ipangidwa tithandizanenso ndi madokota ndokugwira ntchito paja kuti tikuthandizani chachoka ndi chani tiziwe kuti tikozeke mwansanga ife tikudikira kuti tizimva feedback.
So apitilira kutithandiza pali
100 containers 100 amene akubwera ndi tikamaliza omwe tifuna tipite education.
Okay.
Mabungwe akale ngati Google mabungwe ngati Facebook tankhula nawo kuti tifuna tibwerese ku Malawi kuno between 6 and 10 million computers kuti tiyambe kindergarten mpaka university mwana aliyense akhale ndi computer.
Zimene zichitika
ndili mkati mwa kuti zimene zipangike. Tikati umene kusona tifuna agriculture mabungwe agriculture kuti ambakale kuyang'ana nawo kuti tione chifukwa kuno tikutaya nthawi kumamera chimanga mamuti tipange zinthu zimene kunoko sifuna fertilizer.
Okay.
Ngati ma avocado ku America kulibe avocado.
Okay.
Tichose ma avocado kunapite ku America. Tikatenga chimanga kuchi chibwere kuno. One container ya avocado imene chowe kuno ibweresa ma container achimanga 20 kuchoka. Ndi
chimanga tinacho chambiri mwene.
Tikulimira nchi chimanga.